Okay, we're recording.
So, okay, let's get started. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for coming, guys. We had like a small misunderstanding between Alex and me. So from the very beginning, I thought I would be doing like lightning talk, but it appeared that I should do like the full-length presentation. And I realized that poor those people who would be listening to me like more than 5 minutes. So first of all, I would like to let me introduce myself. My name is Andrey Surzhan. I work for a company called Farm Credit Mid-America. This is the company which serves agricultural industry in 4 states like Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Tennessee. So using this occasion, I would like to mention that company currently is hiring like developers, full-stack developers, QA people, and BA professionals as well. So if you feel like if you're looking for a job or something, just check our official website and apply. So let's. Today I'm here to tell you about like the super basic general overview about the testing, what testing is, what kind of type like general type of testing you can, your testers or people are using at their jobs, different levels of testing. So on what levels you can perform the testing, and maybe some bonus I will mention how the proper bug report should look like. What else? Let's just start. So first of all, why actually this presentation can be interesting to you? Since I'm not going to present even a single line of code, that might be a little bit boring to the developers. But like to get familiar with testing, you might be able to test your code better and deliver the code with better quality eventually to the QA team. So basically, to get familiar with the domain better or appreciate testers' work. So there is a small story. Thanks God, I'm not running that kind of issue working for the farm credit. But like I used to work in developers back in Russia who just didn't appreciate the testers' work at all. And it took a lot of time and effort for me to earn their respect and like to show my proficiency to them, and that, hey guys, I'm here to serve you, to help you to do a better product, not like criticize your work. So hopefully that presentation will help you to appreciate testers working better, right? So I'm not going to highlight the QA process itself, so it's like separate topic. And speaking of the QA and testing, it's a little bit different things. If the QA it's kind of process in general where the person affects on the process, affects on each particular stage to increase the quality of the product, increase the quality of the process itself, and thus reducing like the expenses related to the product quality. Meanwhile, the testing basically is just a feedback that even cannot be used eventually for improving the quality of the software. I'm not going to talk about the test design techniques because like it's a huge topic, it's a huge separate topic that should be presented in a separate, separate presentation. The same thing for automation. Again, it's like it's a huge one. And the types of work, or maybe by the end of the presentation we could discuss this kind of stuff, because I tried it only once and I didn't like it, to be honest. So let's start from like defining what testing actually is. So anyone can tell me, how do you understand what quality is? Anyone?
User experience.
Good. What else? So having a good user experience doesn't mean that the product can be considered as a product with a high quality.
you're gonna want it to be not only just user experience, but you're gonna want it to be able to do what it's supposed to do, do what the client
perfect.
needs,
Absolutely.
do what the owner, I guess, needs as well.
Yeah. So absolutely correct. So basically, it's like the product satisfies the specified requirements, right? And the second one, it's to figure out that the product fits to the purposes that it was designed for, right? And this, the third one is to detect as much defects as possible. Not the best one, but still. Here I would like to mention that, speaking of the first point, the testing is involved in every particular stage of the development process, starting from the requirements, ending up with involved in maintenance of the product itself. So what kind of goals testing has? First one and the most basic one is to find defects as many as possible and as early as possible. That will help to reduce the expenses spent on maintaining the product with the bad quality, and basically collecting the just general feedback about the product itself and delivering to the concerned people. So if you take a look at the diagram, this is what I told you before. The idea is the following: as soon as we find bugs or defects, and as soon as it gets fixed, as less the client or company spend money on like some stuff related to the bad experience, bad product quality. So this is the diagram. This is very self-explanatory. You have, if you find the problems or issues on the design stage and you are able to fix it there, it will cost you like almost nothing. Meanwhile, on the maintenance or on the testing stage, it's like 15 times greater or 100 times greater than it will take to fix it on the design stage, right? So that's why it's super important to start testing as soon as possible on the stage of reviewing the requirements. The testing life cycle. So again, we start testing on the requirement stage. So we've got the requirements from the business, from the business owners, from the business analysts, and starting reviewing them. Basically, this is the first stage where we can find the issues and report them. The second stage is test planning. So basically, on the test planning stage, there are different estimations happen, like how many resources we need to spend, what kind of test approach we need to use, the estimation of effort, actually like that, defining the test strategy in general, defining the risks. Next stage is test design. Again, that might depend on the company processes, but in some of the companies, testers are creating the test cases, test plans, checklists, any kind of testing documentation that will help you to describe what kind of tests you will be performing on the application. It's not necessarily would be this way, but like if you're not doing test documentation, the test design and test execution usually bind together, and it's called like exploratory testing, where the tester perform testing, test design and test execution at the same time. So basically, the test design, that's where we're developing our testing documentation based on the test design techniques. That will help us, like using different test design techniques will help us to develop and design the test cases efficiently, not like cloning them hundreds and hundreds and spend a huge amount of time on necessary testing with a poor test coverage, right? The test environment stuff, again, it depends on the process. Usually in most modern companies you have continuous integration where the environment automatically set up with delivering the build. You don't need to do anything, but sometimes you need to see the testing data or whatever. the test execution is self-explanatory, and test reporting, that could be anything. That could be reported bugs, that could be just the test report that explains what kind of testing you perform on the functionality or on the application. Test reporting can be used for creating new stories and new requirements. Let's do the following. You can stop me anywhere and ask questions. I think that would be nice, or just wait till I finish, whatever you want. So the testers can perform testing on different levels of the application. So the most low level, the most basic level is component or module or unit level of the application. Usually it's like testing against the functions or methods in the application. In most of the cases, it's done by developers by writing the unit tests. So if you heard that, if you hear that someone discussing like, hey, what unit tests are, it's basically the automated type of testing where developers provide testing against some specific small piece of the function itself. The next level is integration or interface on complex level. So basically, I've been working with web-based applications for those years, and speaking of the web, by integration testing, we usually mean the REST or SOAP API testing. So it's like communication between like different components via SOAP or REST architecture. I would say REST request architecture or SOAP request architecture. The next one, I would say the most top level one is the system testing. So basically, it's like the testing performed from the user standpoint of view. If you have a system, usually when you go through, start from the beginning of the process, it's like kind of system testing. Usually system testing is equal to the functional testing. The user acceptance testing is a specific formal way of testing where you have focus group, and as a result of the testing, usually the result of the testing defines whether the application can go live or not. I put into separate block the end-to-end testing. That could be equal to this to the system type, but the difference is, I think it's the most global, the most like general one. Just imagine a situation if you have multiple systems that communicate between each other, right? And you have the workflow process that goes through all those systems, and basically starting from the first one, ending up with this the last one, and going through all of them. It's end-to-end testing. Sometimes, if you have only one, that's.
I got a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
Where would your front-end developers fit in on that levels of testing?
I would say, everywhere actually. The front-end developer can, not can. It should. He or she should. They should do like the unit tests as well.
Okay.
It's possible to test private and public functions, and the integration is the same thing, like testing the web APIs. The system testing is UI automation testing using Selenium for test complete, right? So I would like to encourage you guys to participate in testing as much as possible to help your QA people to understand the product, to put different nodes into your tickets. We can discuss that later, actually. So before we start looking at the different types of testing, I would like to mention that the resource for me was not like I didn't make this up from the scratch. So that can be easily argued, and different companies use their own explanation or definitions for different types of testing. So I'm not telling you that this is the rule and you need to follow that, right? as a resource, I used ISTQB glossary. So it's International Software Testing Qualification Board. It's super valuable certification, at least in the Europe. I didn't do the research on that question whether it's valuable in the United States, but at least it's like, if you have that kind of certification, you can consider yourself as a professional, right? Certified professional. So first of all, I would like to start from the types by execution. So we have static and dynamic. The static, it's a type of testing where tester or just automated tool performs perform the tests without any code execution. So it's like reviewing the requirements can be considered a static type of testing, or like compilers can be easily called tools for static testing. You probably know some static analysis tools. Do you have any examples? I have one, Sonar. Have you heard about it? Sonar. Yeah. So it like allows you to see different metrics like the length of the lines, how many lines you have, the unit test coverage, whatever.
Would something like a linter be considered that?
Perfect example. Yep.
So like in JavaScript, there's like JSLint,
Yep.
JSHint,
Absolutely.
ESLint.
Even the all modern IDEs do static testing. So they highlight you some stuff that you I don't know, some typos, or if you didn't put like semicolon, it's static testing as well. So dynamic, it's very self-explanatory. It's testing performs the execution of the whole application itself or its components, right? So by object, there are two big groups: functional, non-functional, and kind of regression that combines all of them. So you have in functional you have smoke and sanity, new feature, and security tests. So in some of the companies, the smoke and sanity are different things. But again, according to ISTQB glossary, it's equal. They're equal to each other. So basically, those kind of tests will help you to figure out whether the build is ready for testing and can be taken into the testing process. Otherwise, if those tests fail for some reason, you just need to push this build back to the developers to fix it, because those tests will help you to figure out the most basic functionality, like if the page is loading, that could be a good smoke test. Otherwise, you just cannot proceed and continue testing, right? If something is super critical, is broken. The new feature is like self-explanatory. Security, this is like two meanings of that kind of testing. Security, where you're testing the permissions, and security, where you're testing like specifically the security, like XSS, SQL injections. So non-functional, that contains a lot of types of testing: usability, performance, localization, capability, UI, and many others. The regression can be done like under any kind of testing. So basically, even when you're testing the new feature, I mean, not you, but testers, right? Hopefully there are some QA people here and can like throw rotten tomatoes into it. Even when you're testing like the new feature, you need to perform regression testing for the functionalities around the new feature, because the new changes can break something that used to work before, right? And the separate one is documentation testing. So let's go and take a look at another one. By system knowledge, definitely most of you have heard about like black box, gray box, white box testing, right? The black box type is where tester doesn't know anything about the internal structure of the application. Like he doesn't know anything about the database, what the APIs are, what the request models and response models are, and provide the testing from the end user standpoint of view. Meanwhile, the white box, basically, in most of the cases, the white box it's like equal to the unit tests. So it's like no application from the starting from the single piece of code. And as a good example, it's unit tests, and I would recommend like developers to research on that topic. If you're going to write unit tests, take a look at the path and branch testing. So basically, unit tests should cover all conditions in the method or in the function, as an example. The gray box is something in the middle. I think like all QA engineers should be able to perform gray box. It's kind of where you know the APIs, the API structure, where you know everything about database structure, and you are able to do everything to the API and database as well, manipulate with the data and test the API separately from the client side, right? Any questions so far? No? Okay, by attitude. So positive and negative one. The positive is like very clear, right? When you need to perform like happy path testing, you are inputting or you are doing just the basic workflow or inputting the basic valid data that's supposed to work. Meanwhile, the negative it's like exception testing, where you are testing how application reacts on the inputting or on like unexpected behavior from the user's side. And again, since it's like that could be only attitude of testers, so there is no like different approaches in testing, like positive or negative. It's just how tester feels against the testing itself when he or she inputting the data. So for instance, if you have requirements, the field should take the basic one, super basic one. If the field should take like only digits and should show the validation message if user inputs something different from the digits, right? You need to test both. You need to apply both like classes of the data. You need to apply the valid ones, the digits, and you need to test against like the letters, special symbols, ASCII codes, whatever you want. And that why actually we consider like inputting letters instead of digits as negative testing, since we have requirements where it says that system should handle the validation message, but it's still considered as negative testing, right? But I mean, it's easy at least to define them. Sometimes we don't have time to do negative testing, and we can perform only positive one. By time, so it's like alpha and beta testing. The alpha one is the same as UAT, where you have focus group, which is doing testing against the almost ready application. And the only difference is that the alpha one, when the testing is done on the developer side to get the feedback and fix some bugs that are found by a focus group. Meanwhile, the beta, it's where you have focus group of potential users on the client side, and basically this is like already directly feedback from the market, right? By documentation, so we have like scripted, formal. This is the known for everyone, where the testers write some testing documentation that could be like test cases, that combine into like test plans, test suites, the checklist, cheat sheets, anything that helps to kind of provide the test design in the first place, and only then reuse it during the test execution. Meanwhile, the ad hoc, it's like more chaotic type of testing where you don't have any goal but to find bugs as much as possible. I think like my personal feeling towards the ad hoc testing, it's like a waste of time, because if you don't have some specific goal while testing, instead of like focusing on the risks, like doing the testing some critical areas, but like just chaotic testing across the whole application to find bugs as much as possible, it's like waste of time, and it's better not to do anything. And meanwhile, the exploratory testing, that's where the tester does test design and test execution at the same time. So it's like more systematic and structurized approach where tester in first place he's learning or she's learning the product, she's gathering some information, specifying the mission, the goal of testing. That could be anything like just the new functionalities testing, or some regression testing, or like just regular exploring the new functionality, because like tester might not have any requirements before, and he or she might not know about anything about new functionality. I mean, and like setting up that kind of specific goal will help you to do more efficient testing. And by the end of that kind of testing, you got the report that can be used like to fulfill that purpose or mission that you set up initially. One of the kind of branches of the exploratory testing is session-based testing. So basically, it's a combination of exploratory and time management. I definitely you've heard about like tomato approach, right? Where you have 20 minutes for doing something, then you have 5 minutes for resting, and again and again and again.
Sometimes call it a Pomodoro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by automation, we have manual, we have automated testing. So the difference between semi-automated and automated one, it's where, so again, that's where I'm trying to express my own opinion. Speaking of automation, the full automated testing is where your auto tests are running in scope of continuous integration or continuous delivery. So it's like total full automation stack, right? Speaking of the semi-automated, it's test automation scripting. So for instance, there are a lot of tools that allows you to do that. For testing, for instance, UI based on the screenshots, you can use SQL. For testing like APIs, that could be REST or SOAP. The SOAP UI is a great tool for doing that, or like Postman. Definitely some of you are very familiar with that. And when you're running your scripts or like other tests manually, that's not like full automation, right? The performance, that the specific type of automation testing. So basically, I don't have like huge experience with automation. I used to do some. I don't have a huge amount of experience of doing the performance testing. I used to do it using the built-in SOAP UI load runner and JMeter, but it's like the most basic one. And usually performance testing is like research type of where you discover the capacity, capacity or capability of your system, of your application. And it's divided by recovery testing, where you have that's how you can figure out how the system reacts on some load and how it recovers after like unexpected load or something. The volume type of testing, where you're feeding the service with the huge amount of data to see how it handles it. The load testing basically it's equal to performance. So if you hear like about the performance, that might be the same as load testing. That's where you're increasing the load constantly by just increasing the parallel number of users or number of transactions, and then keep that load for some period of time. The stress one, that type allows you to figure out what was the top limits, kind of the top limits capacity of your system, capability of your system. And endurance or stability type, that's where you keep the load on some like designed level for a long period of time, and that will help you to see kind of memory leaks and eventually to fix it. I have the diagram that explains those kind of tests better. So you have the normal expected capacity. You have the soak testing. So for instance, that can be loaded a little bit higher than expected one, and you keep it during 24 hours or even longer. The load or performance testing, usually that the most popular one, and that one allows you to figure out how the system reacts on the load during like busiest time of the year. For instance, if you have online store, you would like to know how it will react when, for instance, when users come and start buying stuff, and during, for instance, the Christmas time or before the Christmas, before the Thanksgiving Day. The stress testing that allows you to find that max design capacity. So basically, when you're increasing the load and application fail, or just goes down, that means that you reach the design capacity. The spike testing, just the instant load, the instant high load that allows you to see how the system reacts on it and whether it goes down or not, right? I think it's almost all basic types of testing that I wanted to present you guys today. So since it was like only general ones, there are a lot of them that testers are just able to perform. It's not the full list of them. It's like endless number of different types of testing, depending on the goal, depending on the product itself, depending on the project. So just wanted to show you that it's like not the testers. They are, in most of the cases, they are not monkey clickers. It's like it's engineers who are able to use different tools to kind of to fulfill the mission, to fulfill the goal. Speaking of the bug report, this is the bonus slide I decided to edit since I realized that I'm not going to do a lightning talk. So that can be useful to some of the people who are not familiar with like bug reports, but I bet almost all of you are familiar with it. So bug report consists of several optional fields and several required fields. So basically, it has all modern like bug tracking or ticket tracker systems have that kind of bug entity that allows you to create the bug report in the system, and this entity already has necessary fields or optional fields, or you can customize them. Like Jira, one of the greatest tools for it. I used to work with TFS as well. Bugzilla is fine, I know some of the people are using. In small companies, they don't use anything. They use like Trello or even reporting bugs in Excel or Google Documents. But if you're reporting stuff without like bug tracking systems, testers should be able to write proper title. Usually title is a very big deal when tester writes bug report, because just taking a glance at the title will help developer to figure out where the bug is, how to reproduce it, what kind of data are used, and what expected behavior should be. So usually, in like the best practices are to use tags in a title that allows you to define the place, the epoch, the section where the bug is reproduced, or like specify the environment. For instance, if you like specific Internet Explorer bug, it would be nice to see the IE tag in the title or IE tag in tags if you are using the bug tracking system or ticket tracking system. So, and as a best practice to use like 3W approach, it's where, what, and when. So when you're describing the title, it would be nice if you did use that approach. So just in case, for instance, if you have, again, the most basic example, if you have like text input that doesn't show you the validation message, you can have the title describes. Let's make this up. So for instance, like the email address input doesn't show validation message while inputting the valid data, right? That could be a good bug report title that shows you what kind of input it is, what kind of data the tester inputted, like valid data, the valid email address, and what he saw and what he expects. That he expects to see validation of a message, and it didn't show up originally. So the next one is environment. That could be optional if you're just developing the application based on only one environment, one browser, one mobile device, or whatever. So that could be browser version and browser itself, operation system with service packs. If you are developing the desktop applications, the device, the description for the device, the build number. That sometimes that can be vital, because that allows the developer to see in what particular version this bug reproduced. Because sometimes some changes might affect on the bug or issue itself in different builds, right? The severity one, again, this is mandatory field that defines not the importance of the bug, but I would say the
importance to the company or the end user.
Not really. It's like how bug affects on the system itself. So that could be again in different companies that there are different points for it. That could block a critical, major, minor, or trivial. In our company, we have only 4 of them. It's critical, high, and medium. Low, where the critical is like the bug that's blocking a user from doing stuff completely. The high is where the calculation is broken. Since we are working with financial domain, to have correct calculations, like one thing. The medium is where, for instance, you have strict workflow to pass by this issue, or for instance, that could be related to UI or UX. Since we're developing stuff for to use in the company, at least for now, like UI and UX blocks, they are not really important at that point. The low one, that could be like small stupid typo in a label or something. Priority is a little bit different thing. That might be defined by project manager based on the severity, based on the current stage of the project. So I can give you a good example for it. Just imagine, as a tester, I found the typo in logo, in the logo, for instance, in the header of the website, right? So as for me, it doesn't affect on anything. Like it doesn't affect on the functionality. It doesn't block user from doing anything. And I would put that like low priority for it. I mean low security. I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the project manager can escalate the fix for that bug because he understands that the bug is very important one because that affects on the company, that might like destroy the company image, right? And the opposite one, if you've got like this situation, like very vague steps to reproduce, very hard steps to reproduce, like you need double click at the some button, input like the date of birth of Jesus Christ, and like 2 times clap, and on the end, like whole database just disappears. As a QA, as a tester, I would say this is the critical one, right? Because like wipe out all the data that we have. But meanwhile, the project manager can again, if we have some specific situation where we have something more prior, he would put like the low priority one because it's very hard to produce it. The next field is status. So bug could have reopen status. So for instance, if you're retesting and it's reproducible, you can kind of push it back with reopen status. And in best case scenario, that can be used during the retrospective to figure out what happened, why we didn't manage to fix it in the first place. Next one is the author of the bug report. That will help developers to find a responsible person. For instance, if the developer has additional questions on the bug report, he will find a person based on that field assigned to. The same thing for the tester. He will know who's working on the bug, who was fixing it, and who screwed up or who did a great job. The preconditions, that's where you sometimes you need to put application into some specific condition to have bug to reproduce the bug. And in preconditions, you can specify that kind of conditions for the bug reproduction. The steps to reproduce like self-explanatory. Those three ones, it's required fields, so you need to have steps definitely as precise as possible, but it depends on the process. Sometimes I'm lazy and specify the like very basic ones. Again, if developer easily can understand that, that's fine. Don't waste time on writing like super precise steps. The expected result. I saw that some of the testers didn't specify the expected result, and like it's crucial mistake because how developer should know how he or she needs to fix the issue without expected result. What should be expected? Maybe developer thinks and interpret stuff differently, right? We need to be very specific in that field. Some additional stuff that helps developer to reproduce bug very easily, like screenshots, logs from console, from server side, different testing data like JSONs that we're sending through the API calls, links to the related tickets that will help us to do the proper regression testing, the links to the original stories that you can reference to the original story and show the developer, hey, that's how it's supposed to work. That you didn't make up the expected result by yourself. I guess I'm done. Thank you all for your patience. I really appreciate it. So, any questions?
Yeah, talking about the build number, how do you convey the build number, or I guess how do you guys build it, or convey that to the QA team, or how do you guys track the build? It's a hard situation that we track, tricky.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that we're working towards the continuous integration, and we have very complex application which is built, which includes multiple different components. That's why we don't have some specific, like the general build, but the company that I worked before that one, we used to use continuous integration where so for instance we've got the build in the developers environment. Then as soon as the code is reviewed, everything is reviewed, and developers are sure that build can be promoted to the QA environment. So basically, when you're building the application, each particular build has its own unique version. Usually, this version is based on the semantic approach. Maybe you guys are familiar, like x.x.x x/ like yz. So that kind of semantic approach will help you to figure out what kind of changes were done in the build, whether it's like minor or major changes, or it's like just build for testing, because like the final build doesn't have any endings. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but anyway, so you're building application and each build has its own unique identifier. That's how we figure out. And for instance, if you have current build and you found a bug, you introduce that bug to the developers team. Developers fix that bug and create the new build with the new incremented number, for instance. So basically, you've got two different states of your application. Where application that has the build in it and where it doesn't. And when you're retesting stuff, you will be reporting the test report with different build number.
So you as a QA person have access to the versioning control system to see those version numbers?
So that version is shown in the pipeline in continuous integration tool, or my kind of intention that every QA person should have access to everything except the production, like total access. And yes, we have access to the version control system. We can see everything. We can contribute if we like, if we have time for it. We can do a code review, and that's great. Like doing the code review will help us to figure out what kind of tests we need to perform. Do we need to do extensive testing, or if it's just one line fix and we understand what it does, it's not necessary that we need to perform like extensive regression testing on the changes. What I would like to mention is that please work with your testers as much as possible. Communicate with them, get along, just help them to test. If you are working on the tickets, please put different nodes into the tickets that help them to figure out what kind of impact changes do. So for instance, if a developer fixed some stuff and he did a little bit refactoring around the new changes, please mention that. That allows testers to figure out what kind of test he or she needs to perform. Like speaking of the importance of unit tests, that can be argued, but if we return back to the diagram, the unit tests, that's where we are. So the unit tests will help us to find issues on the most earlier stages, on the stage of coding. And in best case scenario, unit tests should be hooked up to like in Git to the commit. So as soon as you do commit, the unit test should be run and should prevent you from doing the commit if they fail, in best case scenario.
What specific resources or steps to take would you recommend for someone looking for a more junior position in QA?
Stack Overflow. I don't know. There are a lot of courses, the basic ones. I would recommend to take some basic courses, to read some basic books, like Practitioner Guide in Testing by Lee Copeland, as far as you remember. This is one of the best books. Or there are like fathers of testing, like Michael Bolton and James Buck, as far as you remember. You can find the resources like maintained by those people, or find the open source project which requires which is looking for QA people. That helped me a lot, at least, because in most of the cases the open source projects are run by very professional people, like very experienced. Some of them, at least, the biggest ones. And you can find a good method for you.
What was the name of that first textbook you mentioned again?
The author is it's Lee Copeland. Anyway, I can shoot the comment to that meetup and mention like several books in there if you like.
You had mentioned earlier that I guess everyone should have access to everything on the website, or the production should be off range from everything else. Does that mean the customer has access to everything but production, or is that just improved web development?
I mean, we were talking about only QA people. My point is that QA people should have completely the same access that developers do.
Okay.
So, but definitely clients shouldn't have access to anything,
Okay.
except the production to the expected areas, right?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
You deal with, when you're looking at the code and reviewing it, or after an issue is found, you deal with the code complexity as a measure of bugs.
What do you mean? Sorry.
If you find a particular piece of code or something, or if something is implemented a particular way, in a complex way, and you know that that's apt to be hard to maintain or something, would QA be recommend that be refactored in such a way to be simpler? Or?
So absolutely, anything that, like, if you consider that something is wrong, you need to bring this up. Anything that could be the code review, that could be some UX UI stuff. As a QA people, we're responsible for the quality, and if you can somehow increase the quality of the product, like even bringing this up, definitely that's worth it.
I'll change it, but you brought it up.
At least I would mention I will shoot the email, and that could be just, hey guys, can you take a look at that one? If you have recommendations for something, that would be just perfect. But sometimes you can just give someone their minds.
So you mentioned you mentioned, like, when you talked to me one time, the difference between a lead and a QA engineer and a tester.
Did I?
Maybe you could mention like what the different job titles mean, or
I think like the difference is pretty the same as everywhere. Like the QA lead. To be honest, I don't have experience working with Actually, I have. So the QA lead in most of the cases is a person who kind of spread the resources across the whole project. So he kind of assigned people to different tasks. He do estimates. I guess it's the same as a developer lead, but maybe again depends on the company. The lead can write the auto test. Meanwhile, just regular QA people can participate in auto testing by just increasing the test coverage, writing the test cases. Meanwhile, the QA lead can do, in most of the cases, can set up and maintain the framework itself. I don't think that there is a huge difference between like dev lead. And what was the third one?
Like for people, if they're looking at like getting into an entry level position, like what are some of the job titles that you would look for? What would they be named?
Like junior QA position, junior tester. What I would like to mention that to be a QA, it's like it's super job from the point that QA is involved everywhere in every particular stage. So as a QA in current company, I communicate and collaborate with business owners a lot, and that's how I learned the domain itself. I will be communicating with users soon, potential users. I work with the code itself. I work with the requirements. So I am testing what developers write. This is the huge advantage to be a QA because you are involved everywhere. You can even be involved in in building the application, in DevOps as well, if you are a very technical experienced person. Another good thing to be a QA, I think it's fairly simple to find the job. So it's like even simpler to find the job if you're a QA rather than you're like a developer person. If you're a junior QA, it's like you don't need to have some super technical knowledge. Again, it depends on the company, of course. But you don't need to be a very technical person to be a QA. The company can hire even not experienced person in QA.
Would it be common for QA testers to progress to developers, or maybe the other way around? It seems like there's a lot of overlap.
Yep, absolutely. That's another great advantage to be a QA. You can like, I wouldn't say this is like improvements or promotion. It's just another branch of the development, right? So as a QA, you can go into more business-related domain like business analyst. If you would like to stick to the technologies, you can go into the to go to the developers positions. If you like to stick to the QA, but you like to write code, for instance, you can go to the test automation. In my opinion, like that test automation engineer, it's even like more technical, advanced person compared to the developer, because it's like it's a QA who knows the QA domain very well. Meanwhile, it's a great developer who can develop the framework itself.
I know you mentioned something about a European certification that you had, and I was curious, have you had experience with the ISO certification for QA?
Unfortunately, I don't have like ISTQB certification. Yeah, I don't have
much experience in coming in contact with people who have that certification.
Yes, I have several acquaintances who have certification. If you want, I can show you the contacts.
I mean, I'm just curious if you see that as something that's being necessary or
something
that's prevalent out there in the QA field.
It's very kind of
I got you. I'm surprised because I do environmental testing on the quality side, and so when I go to my meeting and stuff, I'm very surprised there's QA for actual programming, because I didn't know that it actually existed in the ISO certification standards. and it's there. And there were people in those classrooms, and so I was just curious if you had any experience with them. But
I don't know. To be honest, it's like a very hard question whether the certification is valuable. I think it's like as everywhere you have. If you have certification, you will be more preferred comparing to the person who doesn't have it, right? I don't have like I have certifications from some courses, but I doubt that my employees really were looking into it. Basically, the experience that matters better.
So, Andrey, in a very general way, could you say that there's a different skill set for a QA person there is for a developer?
Yes, absolutely. So, again, this is my personal opinion. I don't want to offend anyone. I think like QA people, they have different mindset compared to developers. So they have critical thinking. For instance, I'm developing stuff. I'm participating in an open source project as a developer, and I'm doing some JavaScript coding for the backend side. And I know how hard it is just to see things out of box, I would say, and to be a critical thinker when you're trying to test your own code or trying to test anything. So you need to constantly ask questions. What would it be if I do something, right? How this stuff affects on something. So I see new changes. Probably that might affect on something. Meanwhile, in most of the cases, I don't know, I bet developers don't think about that too much.
Yeah. That's good to hear. I mean, it's good to hear your opinion.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah, hopefully they would, yeah.
I was just wondering if someone came to you and asked you what you did as a QA, what would you tell them? Like, how would you explain, I'm a QA, this is what I did?
To just not related to IT person?
Yes.
So basically, I would say that I'm the person who is, I don't know, I think it's like self-explanatory, right? I'm testing the software.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make sure that the application doesn't have any problems and the user will be satisfied with it.
And that would be different from a web developer, as in, I mean, because they both test software, so if someone went into detail on that and asked, again, what would be the difference? How would you
difference between web developer?
Yeah.
So I would say that developer, it's a person who creates something from the creates something from scratch, I would say, or like maintaining something, and I'm the person who is trying to deliver the feedback, right? Again, speaking of the testing, but if I'm a QA person, I'm the person who is trying to improve the process of the development process. Like, it's two different things. So like testing is a part of the QA process, I would say.
Okay. Makes sense.
Thank you so much for speaking.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's the first time speaking for JSLou, so thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
First time speaking in English, actually.
Very good then.